Guys, I have finally played Marathon and we need to talk about it. Hello everybody, Marathon's alpha has gone live and at last, thousands of players have jumped on to experience the game for the first time, myself included. Thanks to Bungie lifting the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, I can talk about my first impressions of the game and what I think. I'll be doing a full review once the alpha has ended, as I want to go through every class, ability and the balancing overall to see how the game truly plays. Today are my first impressions. As a disclaimer, I've literally just finished my first 10 hours playing. This video is going to be a bit unstructured, but these are my honest thoughts. The first thing I'd like to make clear right out of the gate is this game is not for everyone. If you like arena shooters like Halo, Call of Duty, or even Destiny PvP, this is not the game for you. Bungie has stated that PvP was the main focus of the game. I honestly disagree, as there was multiple matches where I didn't run into anyone. In many games where I did eventually run into people, I had 10 to 15 minutes of downtime between encounters. On the whole, there's many times where the game just doesn't feel PvP focused. I wouldn't have had that expectation if Bungie didn't say it. In saying that, yes, sometimes you'll run into a few groups and that is fun, but it's very few and far between. There's even this really annoying bug where if you reload a magazine off your weapon, if you still had bullets in that magazine and you hit reload, upon firing your gun again, dependent on how many bullets you had left, your gun will do no damage until you use that many bullets. It is annoying. Now, as I just said, Bungie said there's a huge focus on PvP, but even the AI voiceover at the start of the game says consider not attacking rival crews to avoid violence. It's like Marathon doesn't truly know what it's going to be at this point. The objective is to get in and out with loot. Bungie says there's a heavy focus on PvP. People's expectations are a strong narrative story, and I really didn't see any narrative story at all. Perhaps because it's an alpha, it feels like the game at this point doesn't truly know what it's meant to be, but I definitely felt a lack of direction in certain aspects. With that said, playing with friends in a group of 3, looting and taking out other squads is fun. Playing solo, however, is brutal. Even as someone who prides themselves in being a good player, I found it difficult to take on full teams. The AI can overwhelm you even more than the players can. In saying that, other players, if you don't want to fight them, they're honestly pretty evadable with the right abilities. So, with that brief overview of the game out of the way, let's go into a standard round of Marathon and go through things I noticed and things we need to talk about. First up, your gear and your loot. The aim of the game in Marathon is to loot and complete objectives, defeat bosses, and extract with progressively better gear to improve your vault's value. As you increase your vault's value and you get better gear, you can drop into games and be more effective as you have better equipment. If you die a lot and have no money in your vault, you can get a free assault rifle, pistol, and 5 shield/health packs. These will do okay against most players, but against a competent team, you have no hope. Very quick note about the pistol, it is literally the Combat Evolved Magnum reskinned. There's even a modified perk that makes it a 3-hit kill like the original Halo game. I thought that was a neat touch. With the money in your vault/account, you can buy extra gear necessary such as heals, shields, and ammo. I noticed though, grenades literally run out of stock, which I thought was really lame. Why would you put a limit on how many grenades you can buy? So some people are going to be able to buy it as they're not at the limit, and then you get no grenade and you get screwed over? That doesn't make any sense. Once you land on the map, you can play the way you wish. For me, what I usually do, because I like PvP, is to mark another point of interest, usually the closest one, pull out the knife, as that allows you to run faster, and sprint straight to the other landmark to try and find some enemies. Usually, one team will spawn at each landmark on the map. The problem with doing this, and also for looting or killing AI, or even focusing PvP, is that just like a battle royale, you will have a lot of downtime. Yes, again, there's instances where lots of AI and quite a few teams converge on one another, and yes, those moments are great, but for me, that was only 5% of the time. They were very, very rare. One good thing Bungie did with the AI is that yes, when they're aware of you, they converge and are brutal, but there is an element of stealth, so if you run past them very quickly, often they won't see you. This means if the AI are fighting an enemy team, you can kind of third party and sneak behind everyone, pick your target, and take them out. Now, as I said, I didn't have all that many intense encounters. I found myself running across the map all the time, and the map was almost empty. It was doubly annoying that if you did run into people eventually, sometimes they would just have better gear, or they'd luckily find you with a height advantage, and you're dead. So you ran for 10-15 minutes, and you're dead. That is very much like a battle royale, almost like Apex Legends when you're fighting other teams, especially when it's 3v3. Now, speaking of superior gear, if you do run into another team and and they have better equipment than you do? Bungie says yes, you should be able to outplay them. Maybe it's because the balancing is a bit messed up because it's an alpha. This wasn't the case for me. No amount of outplaying could defeat a coordinated team with really good equipment. A whole assault rifle magazine wouldn't even drop their shields, and then the reload time is so slow, you're dead before you can do anything. You definitely have to pick your battles and run away if you don't kill them right away. Again, Bungie did mention they need to do a lot of balancing changes at this current point in development, so I'm sure this particular problem will be ironed out before launch. Now, as I just said, in Marathon there's a lot of downtime. I was going to use that downtime to look at the narrative story. I honestly didn't see much in terms of a narrative story. Yes, there is an anomaly in the area, but nothing really beyond that. Yes, there are factions, and yes, they give you contracts, and yes, you can unlock stuff by completing said contracts. But I would say 80 to 90% of players are going to have no idea what the broader story is. From having the original Marathon games with a really strong campaign, this is nothing like it. And that's the thing. You guys know Marathon has a rich history, but 5 months out from launch, there's no story written. That's a bit of a red flag in my eyes. Going back to the game, and once you're on the map, you can choose what you want to do. You can loot and extract, you can kill enemy players and extract, or literally go and extract right away. You control the way you want to play. Yes, there's side objectives of things spawning throughout the game, but I didn't actually see that many people completing them. The strength of Marathon, from what I've found, is actually allowing players to do what they want. That element of choice I think is really good. Marathon also does a really good job of combining multiple different playstyles, and the characters you can pick complement that, as they truly allow you to play the way you want to. You could pick 3 characters that'll go invisible. You could play as 3 soldiers running across the map with shields. You could be 3 recon specialists hiding out and picking your moment to take out a team. That is the strength of Marathon, the fact that you can play the way you want. The problem is those really cool moments are so spread out, it loses the wow factor. Now, while I'm on the topic of allowing you to play the way you want to play, there are a few limitations. There is one really annoying limitation, and it's called the heat meter. This is basically a stamina bar. If you overheat, which is what it's called in Marathon, which is basically to run out of stamina, you'll be very vulnerable. You can barely move, you can't evade anyone, and you're basically a sitting duck. I really think a lot of work needs to be done with this overheating system. As for me, I was playing the assassin character, and if I knife someone, that raises the heat meter. That uses stamina. It takes 3 to 4 knives, and again, it comes back down to balancing. By the time I killed one player, I had no stamina left to run away. I was a sitting duck. The key feature of my character is to be stealthy and run away and pick your moment. So I pick my moment and I take out one person, and then I can't do anything. It all comes down to balancing. Now, in saying that and saying, yes, I'm so vulnerable, I can't get away, there are gear upgrades designed to reduce how much stamina is used and how effective your knife is. I found very few pieces of gear that was actually useful for me in that regard, and on the rare chance, say 5% of the time I did find that gear, I would just die, and then it's gone forever, and then I'd never find it again. And that is the very nature of an extraction shooter, and that's why I feel as though this game will be loved by some and hated by others. I spoke to a lot of other people who played Marathon today, and they said, Remy, since it is an extraction shooter, if you don't have gear, you really shouldn't even bother trying to fight other players. Just loot, extract with your gear, and build up your vault. But to me, Marathon was marketed as a PvP heavy game, with Bungie almost saying if you enjoy sandbox-based shooters, you'll enjoy Marathon. At this point in time, I disagree with that. If you enjoy Tarkov, you'll enjoy Marathon. If you had to ask me, Remy, how much time do you spend fighting the AI versus actual players, I'd say about 70% of the time you're fighting AI, and 30% of the time you're fighting real people. With some matches, again, you won't find anyone, and then in other matches, it'll take 10 to 15 minutes. Now, since I had so much time to run across the map looking for people, let's talk about the maps. And the maps themselves are okay. I'll talk about the visuals in a minute, but the points of interest themselves are very unique, and I quite like them. There's enough variety here that it gives the game a good personality, but in terms of actual visuals, the outside areas, as we've seen, and I can confirm this, they look quite flat, lifeless, and dull. Inside areas look much more vibrant and colorful, and I really like them. But for some reason, the whole game, especially outside, it has this like dull, devoid of life, colorless atmosphere. You guys said in the comment section that this was by design. I don't like this design. I much prefer vibrant, if I'm honest. In terms of actual performance, I have a 3070 GPU and a 5800X CPU and a lot of RAM. I got about 100 FPS. In terms of what performance you could potentially expect, I reached out to many people in the Marathon Creator Discord, and people had various levels of performance. Some had 200 FPS, others had better PCs than me, and they were limited to 60. I'm guessing because Marathon is currently in an alpha state, full optimizations haven't been done. I'll monitor this closer to launch. In saying that, my frames were stable, no hitching, a few crashes, but nothing mid-game, only at the end of the game when loading back into the menu. Overall, my first thoughts, I think Bungie hasn't marketed this game correctly. I don't think arena-based PvP shooter fans, with an emphasis on sandbox, is who the game is for, because that's literally the Halo audience. It's all abilities, almost like a hero shooter. If you had to ask me who do I think Marathon is for then, I would say Battle Royale fans, 100%. Maybe Tarkov as well, as that's also an extraction shooter, but the gunfights feel very similar to Apex Legends, especially with those abilities. The only big difference between Apex Legends and Marathon is if you lose your gear, you can't do PvP for a few games while you build up better loot. Again, 70% AI fighting and looting, 30% PvP. Less if you don't run into anyone. And that's it. They are my first thoughts about Marathon. On the whole, I'm very curious to see where this game goes. People are going to have very similar feedback to me, and I really think some are going to love it and some are going to hate it. I need to play it more before I can make an accurate assessment of the game, and that's when I'll do my full review. I did love playing it with friends. I didn't love playing it solo. I do think solo queue would be very fun if it was actually free-for-all, everyone against everyone, and not one person versus 3. I think that would be really, really successful. I'm going to keep playing, I'm going to keep learning, and when I think I have enough knowledge, I'll do my full review. Marathon definitely wasn't what I expected, and I still think it needs a ton of work before launch, especially in this state. If I had to pinpoint one thing that I think Marathon really needs, it's in terms of overall tension. There is so much downtime in between fights, even against the AI, which I think could be improved upon. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Marathon gets delayed, as it seems like there's heaps to do within the last 5 months before release, but I still had fun. In saying that, let me know what you think of Marathon. What are your first thoughts? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know. I look forward to reading your comments down in the comments section below. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.